Hello, Alphas. Welcome back. You woke up today with that same fire you tried to kill yesterday. The world thought it could drown it in noise, in bills, in pain, in shadows. But here you are, still breathing through clenched teeth, standing tall on wounds that never really healed. You aren't here for comfort. You aren't here to be liked. You came back for war, and you came back to own the battlefield. Because whatever that move was, the one they didn't see coming, the one you made in silence, in rage, in total desperation, that one move made you the in charge. And no, it wasn't clean. It wasn't beautiful. It was dirty. It was sleepless. It was manic and full of risk. But it broke something open. It tore the skin off the illusion. And now they know. Now they look at you different. Not because you smiled, not because you asked for respect, but because you took it. You reached through the smoke and grabbed what was yours, with blood still dripping from your fingers. That's what power looks like when it's real, not handed, not earned politely, taken. They told you not to do it. They begged you to think twice. Stay safe, stay small, stay in line. But you burned the whole goddamn line. And that fire is still behind your eyes. That's why they flinch when you speak. That's why rooms go quiet when you walk in. You did what they couldn't do. You made that move, the one that cost you everything soft, the one that demanded all your demons report for duty, the one that put you in control of a story they thought would bury you. It wasn't luck. Luck is for people who wait. You made the moment. You weren't discovered. You weren't picked. You chose yourself when no one else would. That's the price of being the alpha. You sacrifice comfort. You walk alone. You bleed alone. You win in silence and you lose in public. And still, you never stop. You keep pushing, keep hitting, keep twisting reality into something they'll choke on. Because you are not here to be understood. You are here to be undeniable. They will never forget that move, that one time you didn't fold, that one time you took the bullet and smiled through the pain, that one time you stood up with nothing left and still dared to swing. That's the moment everything changed. Not because you were ready, not because the world was fair, but because your rage got louder than your fear. And that is the moment you became the in charge. You don't need an audience. You don't need their cheers. You don't need their permission slips signed by mediocrity. You move like a storm. You don't ask for the floor. You take the whole building. Because deep down, you know this truth. They only crown those who break the throne. You didn't wait for a seat at the table. You flipped the table over and built a new one from your broken past and unapologetic ambition. That move, that move wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty, but it was final, and it marked you. It said to the universe, try me, just try me. Because there's nothing more dangerous than the one who's already walked through hell and came back with the devil's head. That's you. You don't play roles, you play to dominate. You don't follow maps, you burn them. And when they say, calm down, you say, watch me. This world bends for those who never break, and that's what you are now. Not unscarred, not untouched, but unbreakable. That's the legacy you're building, brick by brick, scar by scar. And there's not a goddamn soul on this planet who can strip that from you, because you earned it the hard way, through grind, through darkness, through every sleepless night where you screamed into the void and the void answered back, not with mercy, but with truth. That this pain you carry, it's fuel, it's fire, it's your signature. And now you walk like you've got nothing left to lose. Because that's the kind of power that terrifies the world. A man or woman who lost it all and kept going. You are the blueprint for savagery with a purpose, chaos with control, madness with meaning. That move didn't just change your path, it redefined it. You became the storm. You became the leader. You became the weapon. And now, they whisper your name with caution. They speak of you in circles they don't invite you to. Because you made them uncomfortable. Not because you lied, not because you cheated, but because you told the goddamn truth with your actions, and that truth was brutal. It made them face everything they didn't have the spine to do. You did what they couldn't. You stepped forward when the ground cracked beneath your feet. You kept moving when the weight should have crushed you. You kept breathing through dust, through fire, through betrayal. And that move, whatever that move was, yeah, it changed everything. They thought you'd flinch. They thought you'd fold. They thought you were all bark and no bite. But you sank your fangs into the moment and ripped the future wide open. And now it's yours. Every hard, earned inch of it. You are not a product of chance. You are a consequence of chaos, a response to every hand that tried to hold you down. You turned pain into prophecy. You turned scars into strategy. That's what kings and queens do when no one gives them a crown. They forge their own in the heat of hell. You are the result of every storm you refused to drown in, every betrayal you stitched into armor, every night you woke up choking on fear, but stood up anyway. You are the living proof that resilience isn't polite. It's violent, it's obsessive, it's an addiction to your own rise. And now that rise is permanent. Now you're the in charge. And guess what? They know it. That's why they start talking softer. That's why they want to make peace. Because you outgrew them. And now they're terrified of what you might become next. See, they never respected you when you were begging, when you were waiting, when you were soft. They only started taking notice when you got ruthless, when you stopped explaining yourself and started executing, when you stopped defending your passion and started enforcing your presence. That's the secret no one wants to admit. Fear earns respect faster than the hope. Dominance speaks louder than dreams. And you decided that you'd rather be feared for your power than pitied for your potential. The world doesn't hand out titles. It hands out tests, and you passed everyone. Bent, but not broken. Tired, but not done. Shattered, but sharper. You're no longer in this to prove anything to anyone. You're not here to be saved. You're not waiting for validation. You're not chasing a finish line built by cowards. You've already won, because you're the only one who kept showing up when it stopped being fun, when it stopped being fair, when it stopped being anything but brutal. You stayed in the ring. You bled on the mat. You stared defeat in the eye and said, "Not today." That's what made you the one in charge. Not your talent, not your charm, not your potential. Your rage did. Your refusal to bow. Your rejection of mediocrity. You bled for this. You screamed for this. You gave pieces of yourself that no one will ever understand. And that's fine. You didn't come here to be understood. You came here to dominate. You came here to rewrite the rules with your blood. Now they want your formula. Now they want to know your secrets. But they'll never get it, because what you did wasn't a plan. It was a breakdown turned battle strategy. It was chaos turned choreography. You didn't have a guidebook. You had guts. You had nightmares. You had cold mornings where your hands shook from fear, and you still picked up the sword. And when you swung, the world moved. It moved. Because whatever that move was, it made you the one in control. It made you the blueprint for survival. It made you the warning shot for every fake alpha watching from the sidelines. You don't need to scream anymore. Your existence is loud enough. Your silence hits harder than their noise. You've reached the point where your presence alone shifts the temperature of a room. And if they don't like it, good. You didn't build yourself for their comfort. You built yourself for war. And war doesn't wait. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't slow down for the weak. That's why you're still rising while others drown in doubt. Because you're not trying to be liked. You're trying to be legendary. They called you angry. They called you toxic. They called you every name in the book because they couldn't control you. And what they can't control, they fear. Let them. Let them fear the version of you who stopped apologizing. Let them choke on the silence you turned into strength. Let them watch you rise from the ashes of who they thought you'd always be. Because you're not just a survivor anymore. You're the standard. You're the storm that makes history nervous. Now look back, just once. Look at everything that tried to end you. The heartbreak, the humiliation, the silence, the debt, the nights you prayed for peace and got more pain instead. It didn't break you. It built you. Every loss taught you how to move different. Every setback taught you how to strike with precision. You are no longer reactive. You are relentless. And there's no one left to convince. There's only one thing left to do. Keep moving like the throne is already yours. Because it is. So now here you are, not waiting for the moment, but being the moment. You don't chase opportunity anymore. Opportunity checks your schedule. You don't knock on doors. You tear them off the hinges. That's what happens when you embrace the version of yourself that stopped asking and started taking. They used to call you reckless for dreaming too loud, too hard, too big. But now they call you a leader. Now they pretend they always believed in you. Let them pretend. Let them rewrite the story in their heads. You know the truth. You know who bled for this, who burned for this, who suffered in silence when the whole world turned its back. They don't get to claim your story now. They weren't in the trenches. They weren't there when your hands were shaking, when your heart was pounding like a war drum, when every breath tasted like defeat. But you kept moving anyway. They didn't watch you claw your way up from your knees with nothing but rage and refusal in your chest. That's your story. That's your victory. That's what makes you the one in control now. The one they follow. The one they fear. The one who decides. Whatever that move was, you didn't just make it. You became it. You are the embodiment of that wild, unexplainable, spine-breaking move. You are the walking result of chaos weaponized. And now you look around and see the battlefield has changed. Because you changed it, you flipped the paradigm. You rewrote the script they gave you and burned the pages in front of their faces. You didn't inherit this power. You seized it in silence, in shadows, in defiance. And now they look up to you, not because you're nice, not because you played fair, but because you didn't quit. You had every reason to walk away, to fold, to disappear into the background like so many before you. But you didn't. You refused. You chose violence, not with fists, but with action. Not with words, but with relentless momentum. You chose to show up when no one was watching, to build in the dark, to sharpen in silence. Until the moment came. That moment, that move, and the second it landed, everything changed. The ones who laughed at you now study you. The ones who doubted you now quote you. The ones who tried to destroy you now try to mimic you. But they can't, because what you did wasn't performance. It was survival. What you built wasn't strategy. It was instinct. Pure, raw instinct. And no one can fake that. No one can replicate it, because no one else walked your fire. No one else swallowed your poison. No one else dragged themselves out of the grave with bare hands like you did. You weren't handed strength. You earned it through 100,000 silent moments that no one will ever see. You died and resurrected yourself over and over again. You burned versions of yourself that were too small, too soft, too scared. And now, here you stand, scarred, sharpened, sovereign. You became the monster they warned you not to fight. You became the apex predator of your own story. Not because it was fun, not because it was easy, but because something inside you said, there's no going back. This is it. This is your throne now. And no one's going to take it, because they don't have the spine to bleed for it like you did. You don't even sit in that throne for comfort. You sit in it because you've earned it, because it was carved out of your sacrifices. It was built with your pain. That throne is yours because you refuse to settle for anything less. And now, when they ask how you got there, you don't explain. You don't justify. You just smile, that crooked, tired, battle-born smile, and let them stew in their confusion. Let them wonder. Let them write think pieces about how you did it. Let them call it luck. Let them call it timing. Let them call it magic. But deep down, you know it was none of those. It was rage. It was repetition. It was discipline. It was obsession. It was the refusal to go back to a life that made you feel like less. It was you, in your rawest form, choosing to become something that couldn't be ignored, something that couldn't be stopped. And now, the price of stopping you is too high. Because if they come for the throne, they better come knowing you've built yourself for war. You are war. You are a walking campaign of dominance, of fire, of everything they fear, wrapped into a single stare. And you don't flinch, you don't break. You don't ever, ever go back. Because once you've made that move, that one move, there's no returning to normal. There's no more playing small. No more pretending you don't know your own power. Once you've tasted blood and momentum, once you've seen what you're capable of when you stop hesitating, you can never again live a passive life. That version of you died. It was murdered by truth, buried by clarity, and resurrected as something divine, something deadly, a goddamn force of nature. And here's what they'll never understand, that it wasn't just about winning. It was about becoming. It was about the evolution, about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to win because your presence is the victory. You don't chase trophies. You are the trophy. You don't ask for approval. You are the verdict. You are the judge, the executioner, and the flame. So let them fear you. Let them worship you. Let them hate you. But they will never ignore you again. Because you didn't just survive the storm. You became the storm. And no matter what they say, no matter how they spin it, that move, whatever it was your moment of ascension. It was the spark that set fire to the old world and crowned you in smoke and silence. And now, here you stand, that in charge. You stand at the peak now, and it's quiet. Not because the world stopped moving, but because it knows better than to challenge you. This silence isn't peace. It's recognition. It's the echo of every voice that once doubted you, now swallowed by your success. The silence is the throne room, and your scars are the stained glass windows that tell the story of your rise. They didn't expect you to survive. They sure as hell didn't expect you to win. And now that you have, they don't know what to do with you. You're too real, too raw, too much. Because you don't just walk into rooms anymore. You own them, not with charm, not with fake smiles, with weight, with gravity, with a presence forged in failure, rejection, and punishment. You earned this aura. You built this dominance. No shortcuts, no easy wins, just war. And now, the war is you. The same pain they thought would break you became your blueprint. You swallowed the poison, and it hardened your bones. And let me tell you something they'll never admit. They always knew. Deep down, they saw it in your eyes. That cold fire. That hunger that doesn't flinch. That dangerous stillness that meant you weren't just dreaming. You were planning, calculating, waiting. They laughed while you sharpened. They mocked while you built. They underestimated the silence between your screams. But now the screams are gone, and in their place, you, a being they can't define, a result they can't reverse, a monster, a leader, a juggernaut who didn't ask to win, just refused to lose. You could have bowed, you could have begged, you could have broken, but you didn't. You took every hit, every betrayal, every lie, every failure, and you ate it. You turned it into muscle, into discipline, into obsession. You broke your own limits, and when there were no more limits to break, you broke reality. Now they look up, and all they see is someone who made the impossible possible. Someone who flipped rock bottom into a launch pad. You're not a comeback story. You're a declaration. You're a living warning that no one gets to decide your fate but you. And from this point forward, no more mercy. No more soft edges. You gave that version of yourself a funeral the day you made that move. The one they'll talk about for years behind closed doors, but never have the courage to repeat. Because that's what you are now. A legend written in action, not words. In fire, not ink. In blood, not biography. They won't understand how you did it. They'll try to copy your habits, your tactics, your rituals, but they'll fail. Because what made you isn't on the surface. It's in the nights no one saw, in the screams no one heard, in the rage you buried under your breath until it turned into power. You weren't built in the light. You were built in the dark. And that's why they can't follow you here. It's too real, too raw, too honest. You made a move that split the timeline. Before you, weakness. After you, war. And now there's no going back. You're not just in charge. You are the charge. You're the reason people rise differently, speak differently, move differently. They saw what you did, and now they know. It's possible. Pain can become power. Rejection can become fuel. Rage can become a roadmap. You are the proof, the model, the threat, and the standard. So walk like it, speak like it, move like the earth bends beneath your steps. Because it does. You didn't climb to the top. You built it, one nail at a time, one betrayal at a time, one dead piece of your old self at a time. And now that it's done, guard it, defend it, own it. Because no one gave this to you. You didn't inherit your strength. You built it. You chose it. You earned it. And you never, never forget that. So next time someone looks at you sideways, next time they try to downplay your journey, next time they flinch at your energy or question your fire, you don't owe them an explanation. Just remind them, whatever that move was, it made you the in charge. Now act like it, forever.